Hey guys, Dr. Sabertooth here, and today I thought I'd discuss a very niche topic. Sonic's shoes. Now the first thing you might be thinking is, really? How are you going to make a whole video about shoes? Well, let me tell you. Over the 30-year course of Sonic existing, Sonic's shoes have changed quite a bit. Sometimes very drastically, while sometimes very little. So let's discuss that to see how Sonic's shoes have evolved throughout the years. Now, the shoes in the classic era are pretty simple. You basically draw a slightly tilted triangle, add two lines here, and a little sock, and boom, you got Sonic shoes. Classic. Simple. But these kinds of shoes have also seen some differences throughout the 90s. You have the Japanese art, which portrays them as the slightly slanted triangles, the American art, which is basically ovals with a slight tilt to them, and the shoes in the OVA and the Sonic CD opening, which portray them as basically the same as the Japanese art, except sometimes they look pointy. Now these shoes aren't bad. They're pretty good, honestly. It's such a simple design, but I think it's conveyed pretty well. Also, one other thing I forgot to mention, the buckle. It's a nice little detail that just adds some charm to Sonic's design, which, as many other people who talk about Sonic the Hedgehog history would tell you, they're inspired by Michael Jackson's boots. Also, apparently the red is inspired by Santa Claus, so that's something. So overall, these are some pretty cool looking shoes. My only real complaint with them is that I'm not the biggest fan how they're just red at the bottom and there's not really any support for them. Like, I get what they're going for with that whole Mickey Mouse-esque thing with the shoes, but I don't know, it just doesn't work for me personally. Now luckily, this part of the design is fixed with the next game, Sonic Adventure. All you really need to know with the Adventure shoes is take everything I said about the classic shoes, except add gray on the bottom of them. So, needless to say, I personally like these more than the classic Sonic shoes. But there are some slight variations to these shoes that exist. The first one is when you get the Ancient Light upgrade in Sonic Adventure, which basically all it does is add these little circles on the heels, and honestly, they're nice, but I just think they kind of add a bit too much in my opinion. Like, I think they're cool, but I don't think I'd want them as the main shoe design. And the second shoe, I'm jumping a bit ahead in the timeline, comes in Sonic Adventure DX, where the initial large curved triangle shoes are replaced with these things that the fans have dubbed the hot dog shoes. Or I don't know if the fans dubbed it or it was just that one other guy who calls them that. Either way, these are pretty decent looking in my opinion. I'm personally not a huge fan of the texture on the red. I just think it makes it look way more like a hot dog, which I'm not really the biggest fan of in my opinion. Like, I get it, it's that sort of leather material, but it's just something I don't like. I do like how the shoes curl up a bit. Some people might find that weird, but I find it cool how they managed to actually recreate the way the shoes look in the official artwork in a 3D model. Other than that, yeah, the same thing with the original shoes basically stays the same. Ancient Light upgrade kind of makes it look a bit too cluttered in my opinion, but it's neat either way. But I definitely prefer how they look in the Dreamcast version overall, because while I think the shape is cool, that texture on the DX model is just not something I'm a fan of. Now let's move on to the next game, Sonic Adventure 2, which to some people is one of the best Sonic games of all time. To me, it's mediocre at best, but let's see how the shoes fare. Alright, here they are, the soap shoes. The shoes that almost every Sonic fan likes and says they wish would return in a game. I think they look like fucking dog shit. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not horrible. I just think they're a complete fucking eyesore to look at. Now, there are a few things I like. Firstly, I like the fact that, despite the fact that they were branded soap shoes, they managed to alter the color scheme to fit Sonic's standard shoes. That's a nice little detail right there. But everything else, I'm not the biggest fan of. I think the curved part of the shoes, I get that comes on the actual real soap shoe design, so it's not an exclusive thing to this design of Sonic, but the curve is really stupid looking. It has really no point to it. I get into excuse to grind on rails, but eventually the later games just gave up on that and just let the normal shoes do that. so there's really no point to them. The random extra details, like this shit in the corner, I just don't like. It's distracting. I think the overall shape of them is just terrible. It's blocky looking and not in the charming way like the SA1 shoes. And it's made even worse when you have all the upgrades, because take what I said about the Ancient Light and just make it 10 times worse, with a bunch of random models and things just being added to the shoes, and it's just ridiculous looking. I do not like these shoes. I think they look bad. Thankfully, Sonic Heroes fixed this by going back to the original design of the shoes, except updating them to be a bit more thin. That's the best way I can describe it. These are one of my favorite Sonic shoes ever. Sort of reminds me of the original Dreamcast Sonic Adventure shoes, how they're sort of low poly, but you can tell there's actually a visual upgrade to them, so there's more depth to them than just a block with an angle in it, and I just like how sleek these look, to be honest. Plus, I don't know, I guess I just prefer it when Sonic shoes are more pointy than rounded. Either way, these aren't bad. I actually like them. Now, by this point in the series, pretty much Sonic's design had been perfected into its modern look. Everybody kind of knew what modern Sonic was supposed to look like. So the next game following Heroes should have a pretty consistent design for what everybody sees as Sonic. In 2006, Sega decided to start a new spin-off series. That, of course, was the Sonic Riders series. And on top of being a unique take in the racing genre, this game came with a whole slew of new designs for the cast, which means that Sonic in this game got a whole new set of shoes. And honestly, these are basically what I wish that the soap shoes looked like, because they have very similar designs. They're more angular, they're a slightly different variation on the regular shoes, but the difference is the rider shoes don't look like utter shit. The main thing I like about these is that they have a lot more of a sort of boots design compared to the soap shoes, which were trying to be sneakers. And so the angular design doesn't look as weird to me. And also, there's way less conflicting colors and just random design choices I don't like. Plus, the bottom of the shoes are white, so that's just another plus all around. Now, while I do like the look of these shoes, they definitely wouldn't want to be ones that I would want to be permanent. I think they work fine being exclusive to the Riders series. Alright. Here's the thing. Sonic's design may have been radically shifted in 06. Some people may not be a fan of it, but overall, this is one of my most favorite designs for modern Sonic. And to add on to that, the shoes. Take what I said about the hero shoes, except just make them more high poly. That's quite literally it. They're the same sleek, thinner shoes with the more pointed end, and they're just really nice looking. Except there is one major difference that makes these one of my favorite designs. The white. For some reason, the bottom of Sonic's shoes being white just makes it look so much better in my opinion. I honestly cannot tell you why, but I honestly just love it. Like, yeah, the gray is fine, but it's a bit distracting having another color to focus on, so I think the white just works perfectly. Like, these are some nice-ass shoes. Like, say what you will about Sonic 06, but these are some sleek-ass shoes. Like, I would unironically wear these. Like, god damn, these are nice. And with the upgrade, they kind of look like the soap shoes. Oh, fuck. I'm sorry. I fucking hate these ones. They're bad. I don't like them. People who like the soap shoes might like these, but I don't like them. And even then, they're even worse because they don't even try to copy the color scheme of Sonic's normal shoes. These are just bad looking. I hate these shoes. Fuck them. Go back to the default ones. Now I'm skipping right to Unleashed. There are a few games between 06 and Unleashed, but the shoes in them are basically all the same. The only difference is the polygon count because of the different systems they were on. So let's just jump straight into Sonic Unleashed. Now the shoes here, they're pretty good, honestly. They're definitely the highest polygon count shoes that we've seen from the series at this point in the timeline. they're pretty nice. They're basically like an HD version of the Sonic Adventure 1 shoes, which I don't find bad at all, to be honest. It's just that, I don't know, I prefer the shoes from 06 and Heroes way more. I just don't like these kinds. Now the Werehog shoes, on the other hand, they're, I don't know. They're kind of fucking stupid looking, but they got a kind of funny looking stupid to them. Such as the spikes coming out of where the normal white stripe is, or the spiked things on the bottom. It's just funny looking to me. I do like the slightly darker red though. It is kind of nice on the eyes. But the dark red and silver, I don't know, not the biggest fan of. But I do like the fact that the socks are partially ripped though. That's a nice detail.
But anyways, back to the normal Sonic shoes, because I still have a list of problems with them.
I just think they're too chunky looking for my liking. They're too wide, they're too big, they look like fucking clown shoes. And also, they went back to the gray on the bottom, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Like I mentioned before, I prefer the white on the bottom. I just think it looks sleeker. Overall, I'm not a fan of these, but sadly, they're the ones that stuck around. So that means every game past Unleashed basically has these shoes. So that means Unleashed, Colors, Generations, Lost World, and Forces all use these shoes. Granted, they're all a little different in those games, but it's not really a design thing. It's all based on the hardware. So the shoes in Colors are a bit more low poly, while the ones in Generations and Lost World are virtually the same. Now that doesn't mean we've ran out of shoes to talk about, because there's still two more that I want to discuss. Firstly is the 2014 attempt at a reboot that ended up completely fucking Sega over, Sonic Boom. Now, say what you will about the game, it's shit though, but say what you will about it, the actual design for Sonic, it's alright. I'm actually a fan of the scarf and the more lanky limbs. It kind of reminds me of the Sonic 06 design in a way. Everything else, I'm not the biggest fan of. The bandages, they're way too excessive and they just kind of look goofy. I don't like how short Sonic's quills are, and also, I'm not a fan of the split ends. But the shoes, I don't know, they're alright. They're more oval shaped than the regular standard Sonic shoes, but you kind of can't tell what they really are doing because the fucking sports tape is covering it. So, if I had to guess, there's probably a stripe under there that's the classic Sonic stripe, but I genuinely can't tell. So I'm just gonna assume that underneath all the bandages, it's just a solid red shoe with a gold brick on top. That fucking sucks, honestly. These shoes just, they just look boring in my opinion. Like, take away the sports tape, and it's literally just a red shoe with a gold brick. It's really bad. I don't like these ones. Not a fan of them in the slightest. Let's move on. Now, thankfully, the last shoe we have to look at is honestly a really good design. I'm of course talking about the Sonic movie. Now, I'm not going to go into too much about the actual movie design itself. For the most part, I'll say it's good. I do kind of wish the tan arms were there. I just kind of prefer tan arms over the blue arms, but that's a whole other thing. The shoes themselves, they're nice. They're kind of like a live-action version of the Sonic Adventure DX shoe. As in, after the white stripe, they kind of curve up at the end. And honestly, because it doesn't have that god-awful texture, and also because the bottom of the shoes are white, I fucking love that detail. Thanks for adding that. These are just really nice. I also love how puffy the socks are. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just kind of like how big they are. I guess that's another way to say it. I didn't really talk about the socks with the other designs, and mostly because they were all pretty much the same design. But these, I like them. They kind of just look like big marshmallows. So yeah, overall, these are very good looking shoes. Definitely not my favorite, but it's close to about a third place for me. Alright, and there is a majority of the major Sonic shoe designs that I can think of. I probably missed a few of them, but I think it should be fine since I was only covering the main ones. If I had to put these into any sort of tier list, it would probably go something like this. I don't really know a way I can end this. I guess I can say I was surprised I was able to get 14 minutes out of that. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let me know if there's any other random minute topics in Sonic that you'd want me to try to discuss. See you guys!